Your landlord just handed you a bill for $10,000. They're calling it renovations. New kitchen cabinets, fresh paint, and an updated bathroom. They're demanding payment, but have you ever wondered if that's even legal? Today I'll explain what landlords can and cannot charge you for, like you're 5 years old. By the end, you'll know which charges are legitimate and which are illegal cash grabs. You'll also learn 3 words that shut down bogus renovation bills instantly. Quick reminder, this is legal education, not legal advice. Laws vary by state and country and change over time. If you're dealing with a real legal situation, talk to an attorney in your area. Let's start with the most important rule in landlord-tenant law. Your landlord can only charge you for things you agreed to pay for. If it's not in your lease, it's generally not your problem. That's the whole rule. Think of your lease like a restaurant menu, where you order a burger. The waiter brings your food, then hands you a bill that includes a steak you never ordered. You'd say, "I didn't order this." And the same exact logic applies to your apartment. Your landlord decided to install granite countertops without asking? That's cool for them, but unless your lease says tenant agrees to pay for future renovations, that's typically their expense. Here's where things start getting really interesting though. Some landlords try adding these charges to your rent under fancy names. They call it a capital improvement fee or a building upgrade assessment. Different words, but it's the same potential scam going on. If you didn't sign something agreeing to pay it, you generally don't owe it. But there's a massive exception that catches tenants off guard, and it's probably not what you think. Some leases contain something called a pass-through clause. It's buried language saying the landlord can pass certain costs to tenants. Usually it covers property tax increases or utility changes. But some landlords write it incredibly broad, like landlord may charge tenant for property improvements. This is why everyone says, read your lease. I know it's 40 pages of tiny font and boring, but somewhere in there could be a sentence that costs you thousands. So before you panic about any bill, pull out your lease and look carefully. Search for words like improvements, renovations, assessments, or pass-through. If those words aren't there, your landlord likely made up a charge entirely. If those words are there, keep watching because even then, there are limits. Now let's talk about what renovations actually means, because your landlord might be using that word to hide something else entirely. There's a huge difference between repairs and renovations. Repairs are things your landlord is legally required to do. The law generally says they have to keep your place livable. That's called the implied warranty of habitability. Your apartment can't be a death trap. Leaky roof, broken heater, or mold problem? Those are repairs. Your landlord typically has to fix them. They usually cannot bill you for that. Here's the trick some landlords pull. They fix a legitimate problem, say a broken bathroom faucet. Then they upgrade the whole bathroom while they're at it. New tiles, new vanity, new mirror. Then they hand you a bill for the renovation. They mixed a required repair with optional upgrades, then tried to charge you for everything. In most states, landlords cannot bundle required repairs with cosmetic upgrades and charge you for the whole package. Now here's where landlords get really creative. They'll say the renovation improves your quality of life. They'll claim you're benefiting from new appliances. They make it sound like they did you a favor. Here's the problem with that logic. You didn't ask for a favor. You asked for the apartment you signed a lease for. Generally speaking, landlords cannot force upgrades on you and then force payment. The legal term is unilateral modification, one side changing the deal without agreement. Courts typically don't like that. Could your landlord raise rent when your lease renews to cover those cabinets? In most places, yes. That's changing the deal for the future. You decide whether to sign or walk away. But charging you mid-lease for unrequested renovations? That's a different story entirely. What about rent-controlled apartments? This is where things get really specific. If you live in a rent-controlled or rent-stabilized unit, common in New York, San Francisco, Los Angeles, there are extra rules. Landlords sometimes can increase rent for major capital improvements. That's the official term. But here's the thing. They typically can't just decide on their own. In most of these cities, they have to apply for approval from a government agency. The agency reviews the improvement. It decides if it qualifies. It calculates the allowed increase. Only then can they legally raise your rent. Even then, there are usually caps. So if your landlord in a rent-controlled building just hands you a bill, that's probably not how it works. They likely skipped the approval process entirely. If you're in a rent-regulated apartment facing this, your city probably has a tenant rights hotline. Call them. They handle this exact situation constantly. Remember those 3 words I promised? Here they are. Show me the lease. Can you show me where in the lease I agreed to pay for this? You're not being difficult. You're asking a completely reasonable question. Here's a bonus phrase that works surprisingly well. I'd like that in writing. It forces them to consider whether their actions are actually legal. People say things out loud they'd never put on paper. So what if your landlord keeps pushing? What if they threaten eviction over this potentially fake bill? First, in most states, landlords cannot evict you for refusing unauthorized charges. That's often considered retaliatory eviction. Courts generally don't look kindly on it. Second, document everything. Every text, every email, every voicemail. If this goes to court, you want a paper trail showing exactly what happened. Third, check if your area has a tenant rights organization. Many cities offer free legal aid for renters. They've seen this situation hundreds of times. Here's something most tenants don't realize. If your landlord is making illegal charges, they might actually owe you money. Some states have laws letting tenants recover damages when landlords violate their rights. The person trying to take your money could end up paying you. Now, to be fair, not every charge is bogus. If you damage something beyond normal wear and tear, you're probably paying for that. If your lease includes specific fees for services, parking, pet rent, storage, that's typically valid. If you agreed to split utilities and the bill increased, that's on you. The key question is always the same. Did you agree to it? Is it in the lease? Let's bring it all together. Here's what you need to remember. 1. Your landlord can generally only charge you for things you agreed to. No signature, typically no obligation. 2. Repairs are usually their responsibility. They cannot bill you for maintaining habitability. 3. Renovations you didn't request are generally their expense, even if you benefit from them. 4. Always ask to see the lease. Those 3 words shut down most bogus charges. Here's what I want you to do right now. Go find your lease. Search for improvements, renovations, pass through. Know what you signed. If this video helps you avoid paying thousands in questionable charges, hit subscribe. Next video breaks down what happens when your landlord tries keeping your security deposit. I'll show you how to fight for every penny back. Drop a comment below. What's the most outrageous thing a landlord ever tried charging you for? Your story might help another renter watching right now. And if you're dealing with this situation, consider talking to a local tenant rights organization. They can explain exactly how the law works where you live. Can they actually make you pay? In this video, I break down what landlords can and cannot charge you for, the difference between repairs and renovations, how to spot illegal fees, and the exact words that shut down bogus bills. Disclaimer: this video is for general educational and informational purposes only and does not constitute legal advice. No attorney-client relationship is formed by viewing this content. Laws vary by jurisdiction and change over time. If you need legal assistance, please consult a licensed attorney in your area.